Welcome to this episode of the Social Media Podcast. My name is Jay Cranda. I'm here with the very lovely, and I want to say lovely, Neil Smith.
Thank you, Jay. You look very nice today.
How did that make you feel? I just wanted to use affirming. I feel like people who listen to this podcast think we fight a lot, and so I wanted to use affirming language.
That is, yeah. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Jay.
Well, thank you for being with me. Yeah, sorry. No, you go.
Yeah.
You go.
Okay. So I was going to let you know, and one of the things that I've appreciated with you is the coffee that I get to drink when I come visit you out there in Southern California. And you have introduced me to, while I'm out there, like this concentrate iced coffee. Yeah. That is excellent. But I want to let our listeners know that, and I have my Houston, Texas coffee mug here that I drink out of every day. But I found a new Keurig K-Cup that I love. Ooh. So I buy everything off of Amazon Prime, everything in life. Yeah. Amazon, by the way, here in New York has 2-hour delivery, which is awesome.
I read that story and I like, how is that even like possible?
It's crazy. So I can buy there's 10,000 different items that are available for 2-hour delivery here in Brooklyn or Manhattan. So anyways, my new K-Cups though are these crazy cups is what it's called. And so it has like 3 different flavors in the package. I bought them one mostly because they're the cheapest ones on Amazon. So that's how I choose things. Yeah. But this is so there are all these like crazy flavors. This is like the pumpkin vanilla cream coffee. Oh, so, wow. Yeah, I like these weird flavors that are kind of frou-frou-y and
lovely.
Yeah. So that's what I'm drinking. I'm curious, Jay, you have any coffee advice as you are like the core expert? And so I've got to drink hot coffee because I'm in New York, but you get 70-degree weather every day of every year.
What do you drink? I'm not a hot coffee drinker. I do, but it's just usually so warm here in California and my body temperature is just crazy all the time. And so I love cold coffee. I always get, I have a cold brew system that actually started as a Kickstarter and then got bought by somebody. Wow. And it's pretty much what it does. It slowly drips the coffee over grounds. And it takes 4 to 5 hours for it to really create about 20 ounces of coffee. And I actually have a scale. I measure out like for every ounce of coffee, I do, half an ounce of water. I measure it out. I love it. It's a process. I actually don't even enjoy Starbucks coffee anymore, which is like I will drink it because I need, you add something, you just need something. So I still drink it, but I'm all into coffee, and I was glad to share with you my coffee experience. Some people think I'm crazy, but I enjoy it.
So people say I'm crazy because I spend so much money on K-Cups. They're like, that's like $1 a cup. If you were to break that down by per pound for coffee, but here's what I say. It's time. I'm all about K-Cups because of the speed of time. And you're talking about like a 4-hour cup of coffee. I do not have that kind of patience.
Well, I do have a Keurig in case of where I'm running out of the house. Okay. But I'm just saying sometimes it's about the experience. But regardless of that, yes, we will need to, over time, everybody understands that there's somebody, especially in the church world, there's a lot of like coffee connoisseurs, and I'm noticing that. And so maybe we should do more.
Let's talk about #SMC podcast. Yeah. Share your favorite kind of coffee, flavor, brew, whatever it is. Share it.
We want to hear it. So on this podcast, Niels, we wanted to talk about Facebook groups. Yes. And we're going to talk about Facebook, some new features that they've been rolling out. But with Facebook groups, there's a right way and a wrong way to leverage that. So Niels, tell us a little bit about what a Facebook group is and some ways that at Community Bible Church, you guys leverage Facebook groups.
Absolutely. So I think Facebook groups are probably the most underutilized feature of Facebook. So what everybody knows is the Facebook profile. Most people call it their page, but it's their profile. And so that's you personally, Jay, have one, and I have one. And that's my face, my name, my information about me personally. And then your church most likely has a Facebook page. And so that's kind of corporate, that's public, everyone can see it. But groups are kind of the thing in the middle. So that's a thing that I would say from anywhere from 5 people to 500 people can fit into a group. And there's a lot of advantages to a group. But where I see it most effectively fitting into the church is for your small groups, or for your Sunday school classes, or for your ministry teams. So as you have groups of 5 people, or sometimes, a men's ministry or women's ministry or youth group has up to 500. And so somewhere in that in between, fits groups. And so it's a huge, feature that's available. And I would say the biggest advantage is that you get notifications. And even I think when a group is under 20 people, you can mass message up to, the whole group and have a kind of a chat dialogue within the Facebook messaging system to everyone in the group. So some pretty cool features in that group. And it's very easy. In about 5 minutes, you can go set up a group, create a name, create a title, and just have some great conversations. So we use it for all of we recommend our physical face-to-face groups use it. And we also use it for our online group system. So all of our online groups are interacting on Facebook. So instead of them going to a separate platform, we have them just live where they're already living in that group function within Facebook.
I love that. And that's something that we do online groups here at Saddleback, and we have, it's a big part of our online church experience. And I always encourage any church that's doing anything online, hey, don't just have a service, but also have a community aspect in Facebook groups. I love how you guys at CBC do that with Facebook groups. And I actually have I'll share it in the show notes, but I have a helpful blog post about how to launch online groups with Facebook groups easily with no money. We actually have a custom built platform for our online groups, but obviously it's development and time. A big thing you have to think about is with online groups using Facebook functionality is that whole idea, how are you going to get video content? And there's some creative ways with different services that you can use, but I love that. I use Facebook groups heavily for volunteer teams. I have a team of 35 that help with the health of all the small groups under the online campus. And we have 1,000 groups at Saddleback, 1,000 individual groups. A third of them are online, and two-thirds of them meet in homes. And I have a volunteer team called a community leader team that helps with. They're pretty much responsible for anywhere from 10 to 25 groups, and they call those groups every month. And the way I interact with that team, because I have people part of that team in Australia, and Tokyo, Denmark, California, New York. And the way I interact with them is that they're all in a Facebook group, and I use that Facebook group for allow them to interact with each other easily. And then I send out content and interact with them. And so Facebook groups become a great place to kind of just have a dynamic conversation. And because it's on Facebook, they're already interacting. And so Facebook groups are obviously something that as a ministry leader, you should be thinking about, both with online groups maybe, and for volunteer development and a lot more. There's just, it's a great way to kind of have a great interaction. And with Facebook, they're also rolling out, you sent me over an email before the show about a new feature, a mentions feature. Tell us a little bit about that, Niels.
And I'm still learning about it, but the way, just like you see on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook has had the feature in the past. I don't know that I fully understand how it's new or different, but I think really more optimizing that mentions feature. So as you mentioned someone else, them being aware and engaging in conversation. And I think where it really, the change is in pages. So you can mention a page, and then that page can become aware of it, and they can interact almost as if they're an individual. So it creates some more interactive opportunities for you as an organization to engage and interact.
Because they leverage it at almost like a mentions 2.0, right? That was kind of like the way that, yeah. Which is, I know sometimes I have problems, and probably our listeners have this issue when you post things from a third-party client from, let's say, Instagram, you want to share it on Facebook or Twitter. Sometimes those mentions don't always translate. And tags get stripped out, and it's because of the coding of it, and it can become frustrating. I even notice that when I'm at certain places, when I'm trying to tag a place, sometimes my pages don't get filtered into that. And so I know that as Facebook, grows in that, it's definitely going to help. And really all this highlights, Niels, is the importance to make sure that you're regularly posting on your Facebook page, and the content there, the layout, everything you're thinking about strategically. So if you're going through, for example, Easter's coming up here real quick. Okay, you got new graphics. Are you updating your Facebook page header image with graphics that align with your Easter program, and so forth? And so if Facebook is going to be becoming more robust in mentioning, that means most likely your community is going to be mentioning you more as an organization, and you need to make sure those things are aligned and you're taking care of it and you're monitoring it.
I really, and Jay, that I'm a Facebook fanatic when it comes to social media, and that it's not the sexiest, that people like talk about. Instagram and Snapchat are kind of the new sexy social networks out there that people are attracted to and want to stand out in. But Facebook is where people are.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where, when it comes to our engagement, I saw on our Facebook page, for our online church Facebook page, I think we have 600,000, likes on the page, but 3.5 million people engaged with the page. So the platform that we have, and then you compare that to, 16,000 visits a week on our website, it doesn't even compare, yet we'll put so much time and energy into our website and minimal energy into our Facebook page. So churches really have such a great opportunity around Facebook. If there's anywhere I feel like you need to live and spend your time, it's on Facebook. Now there's challenges when it comes to advertising and how to get known, and the algorithms changed. I want to mention though, another feature though of Facebook groups, of a question I get a lot is, does everyone see my content? Does everyone see what I post? And so when you think about a small group or a Bible study that's meeting and they want to share prayer requests, you don't want everyone to notice that. And so one of the key features of the groups is the privacy settings. So you can make a Facebook group secret, you can make it public, or you can make it private. And so the difference is, a secret group nobody even knows about unless they're in it or they're invited to it. A private group, people can see that the group exists, but they can't see any of the conversation unless they request to join it, and then they're accepted into the group. And then a public group functions much like a Facebook page, where everyone can see everything, and everyone can kind of interact and be a part of it. Now, where it's different from a group and a page is you can really create in your settings whether just you as an administrator can post or whether everyone can post, and just how that group functions and how you lead it. One of the things that you mentioned is among your leadership teams that I love, and we use it as well for various teams, is that they can help each other. And so we as a leader often use communication of, this is from me to you, and then that's where it stops. And if you as a group individually want to interact back with me, you can. But what happens in these groups is they're often helping each other. So a group, a team member might say, hey, I'm having a hard time with this. Do you have any advice? They're asking me, but before I even get to it, there are probably two other volunteers that have answered that question in a better way than I could. Yeah, so I love that support.
Yeah, and that's Facebook groups right there. For like my team of 35 that I have that help me with my groups, I've noticed that I created that group purposely for that type of thing to happen, is that I wanted them to take care of themselves. And that happens through having a platform and a place for them to easily interact. And there's no moderating at all. It's just, it's a group you have to request to join. And if you request and you haven't been part of the team, I'll deny you, and I'll follow up with them individually. But I go, hey, this is not a public thing. This is just for my team. And I noticed that like I can post things in there, or somebody can ask me a question and 3 other people will answer. And I love that, because what that is building that team dynamic. I'm creating that, because my team, I can't get everybody in the same room at once because of location, but in Facebook, they can all be interacting and have that lobby type of experience in the group. And then easily, even if somebody asks me a question, I can even mention somebody, I can tag somebody in the post and say, hey, Tracy, can you help out with this? Hey, Tina, can you help out with this? And that becomes an easy way to kind of get that activity going. But for that, before we move on to our next topic, I did want to highlight our sponsor for the show, and that's Searchable Church. Searchable Church will help you tap into, this is a great resource, tap into a $10,000 a month advertisement money that Google gives you if you're a church, and a lot more organizations. And so as a church, you can get $10,000 a month of free advertisement money. And if you're not capitalizing on that, or you don't know how to do that, you need to go to searchable.church, and they'll do ad layouts for you. They'll give you the best keywords and manage that whole process. So make sure you go to searchable.church and learn how you can access $10,000 of free money every month to grow the reach of your church. So with that, let's move on to our next topic. I wanted to talk a little bit about podcasting. So we've been podcasting for a while, right, Niels? And I want
2 months now, I think.
Yeah, I know, 2 months now. So let's talk about some of the learnings. A little bit short, a little longer. I don't know. We've lost track of day. We're kind of in Easter season. So if you're at churches, you're kind of a little nutty right now. So we haven't been sleeping that much. But what are some learnings that we've been having around this? Why don't you kick it off?
Absolutely. So we're constantly learning, and I think every church podcasts out their sermons, but there's a lot of opportunities. I'm seeing the Village Church in Dallas is doing a cool thing where they're doing kind of almost like an after show, some conversations, just like you and I are having. So I've been, you and I both have been just researching podcasts like crazy. We shortened the podcast from, kind of an hour, 45 minutes to an hour to 20 minutes, thinking about a drive time. We've moved to a schedule of releasing a new podcast every Wednesday. We've actually shifted WordPress themes, and now we're looking to shift over to Squarespace. Yeah. We're poking around and learning different things. We video this out, so we know about podcasting and audio, but as we video record this through Zoom, and so Zoom is the technology we're using to record these calls. We then upload to YouTube, but we were learning about lighting. I was bright red initially, and now I'm a light red. And so we are figuring out kind of our processes and systems. What about you? What are you learning, and what has been your process?
I mean, obviously there's a lot of learning, and just how easy it is to get a podcast going. I didn't realize a lot of the easy plugins and simple process that people have built out. I mean, I shouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's 2015. The stats has been an interesting thing, learning our average listeners, if you're any familiar with Google Analytics, part of that process, or even with Church Online, you want to figure out your baseline stats so that you can monitor growth or degrowth, really. And so with us, diving into, okay, can we get stats from iTunes? And we've started to learn, okay, we can get that. And here's our community. And we've learned with this podcast has, more than doubled, in the last couple months. And it's been fun to watch that, to know people are listening and engage. And then to watch, things like, how do we leverage hashtags and conversations and to kind of get that going. And it's been a fun process. I was even talking to Kenny, who's been on the show in the past couple shows. We were talking about it, and he was even telling us the comment. He told me, you guys should you should just release the video podcast on iTunes. And I was like, why would we do that? Well, the stats say that your podcast will double when you do something like that. And I was like, oh, I've never thought about that. And it's weird. And part of it is just learning, the podcasts we listen to. So like, I'm an avid sports fan. So I listen to Bill Simmons' BS report. Every time there's an episode out, I'm listening to that. There's a couple of startup podcasts, and Seth Godin has one on a startup podcast as well, and listening to like what works. And it's such a Wild Westland kind of like atmosphere, and you just see some things work and some things don't. And so it's been a great learning process. It's fun. We want to say, I know from Neil's heart too, we want to thank you for everyone who's listening, who's kind of been with us in the quirkiness of how we're learning and what we're going through. And we're really excited about the next version of our website and about the future. The community is growing, and it keeps on going. I don't know, do you have any closing thoughts on that before we end the show?
Absolutely. We really, and we want to thank DJ Chuang for trusting us with this platform. And so DJ did the hard work of really getting things set up. And when he started 2 years ago, the technology isn't where it is today. And so we're having a blast. We appreciate, all the listeners, and Jay, I appreciate you jumping on board with this as well. And we're learning, we're experimenting, we're testing, and we appreciate your patience as we learn different things. One of the things we're learning too is microphones and muting and unmuting. Yeah. So just right now, I've got a 2-year-old on one side, and I've got a street cleaner on the other. And so I know there's distractions on this podcast, and we're figuring it out as we go, and we are having a blast. And we appreciate too your comments, and hope that you will continue to join the conversation on Twitter and social media with hashtag SMC podcast, and really thank you for being a listener and being a part of our community. And
on the muting thing, the funny thing I was texting you about, when because we'll post the show and I'll listen to it, obviously the mic. So I don't know if you guys can hear this, like I'm going to mute the mic button on the mic itself. So whenever we were doing that in the first early shows, when we were working together, I was like, man, I can hear every time we hit the mute button. So we had to shift to muting on. We're using Zoom for capturing this right now. And so we had to shift to that. So those are funny things that you just learn as you're just kind of getting on the ground. So again, thank you for listening. Thank you for being part and taking time out of your busy work week and listening to this episode of the Social Media Church podcast. To learn more about the show and about us, visit socialmedia.church. Please check out our sponsor, searchable.church, and learn how you can capitalize on that $10,000 Google grant money to boost your church's presence. And make sure you engage with our show by using the hashtag hashtag SMC podcast. Thanks for listening.